The Crypto Markets Update is brought to you by KuCoin, the best place to find the next crypto gem.
Joining us now to discuss the crypto markets is Dan Weiskopf. He's portfolio manager at Tidal Financial Group. Welcome, Dan.
Thank you, Lawrence, and thank you, Christine, for having me today.
Great to have you.
Glad to see you. So we have a lot of things coming up. Of course, we have an employment number coming out tomorrow. We're seeing Bitcoin on the rise today, but not by much. What's going on exactly?
Bitcoin's trading with the markets right now, for better or for worse. You know, that's going to happen until I think probably things stabilize, and then maybe Bitcoin leads the market.
You know, we had I mean, we do have some concerns going on right now in terms of oil. As you know, OPEC has said they're going to cut production by about 200,000, by 2 million barrels a day. But the interesting thing of that is that it might be more like 900,000, just because they're not even meeting the capacity that they're not even meeting their quotas as it is. So it's just sort of like, oh, we're just going to cut a little bit more. Is this kind of the thinking being that this might cause inflation, that less oil in the market, fewer barrels of oil in the market is basically going to increase the price of oil, increase energy prices, create push a recession potentially while having simultaneously inflation, in other words, stagflation. Do you think that concern at all in the crypto markets? Is it bleeding in there at all, or is it just like so esoteric for it that it's just not in the traders' minds?
Well, when you're speaking about the crypto markets, I'm a portfolio manager for Block, and when you're talking about the energy market specifically, candidly, one of the concerns is the impact on the miners. And, higher energy prices isn't a great thing for the miners, but it all depends on which miner you're long. I mean, in certain cases, they actually figured out how to benefit by oil prices going up.
All right. I wonder if you make anything of this talk of a Fed pivot. So we see that the Bank of England is intervening in their bond market to control the pound and the economy there. The Reserve Bank of Australia also lifted rates a little less than expected. Are any chance that this might, follow through with the Federal Reserve in terms of reining in this hawkish stance they've been having?
Yeah, Christine, you're asking the big question that needs to be answered, and are they really coordinating the central banks? Should the dollar be lower? And I think if the dollar starts showing some weakness, the markets, may find some more stability. Lawrence brought up inflation before, and it's certainly a concern here. And oil isn't helping it. I think you're right. We're obviously watching the bond market very closely, particularly the long duration TLT ETF, and seeing whether or not that's going to find some stability at these levels.
So you mentioned, Dan, before you mentioned some of the miners, and you play miner stocks. How would you play it in this period if there is inflation, if there is particularly energy inflation, energy prices going up? How would you play the miners here?
Well, I mean, in Block, we're very diversified. We're long about 6-7 miners in Block. And I think you've got to be diversified because they actually have different, maybe subtle differences, but they have different models. One might be asset light, as they call it. Another one might be full service and more robust, right? Another one actually may be getting a benefit from curtailments. So you really have to have a thoughtful approach on the miners. And the small ones, because of difficulty rates, may get hurt and be shut down. I mean, we actually saw CompuNorth file for Chapter 11, private company, and that has implications as well. It looks like Marathon is going to be okay with their build out, but this is a space that has a lot of challenges. Ultimately, the delta's on Bitcoin, of course.
We're also seeing increasing perpetuals reaching an all-time high, a lot of speculation in the Bitcoin market. I wonder how you're playing it and what's your strategy going forward?
Well, in block, I mean, we're really focused mostly on the blockchain with about an 18% exposure to the miners. I think the blockchain is going to be the biggest outgrowth of crypto, candidly. And our exposure to crypto directly is very small.